So as we come out of here, this is the
Oh,
gardener's cottage. So say the original part that was built was just where the foundation is over there, the rock foundation. And then when Frances Lee moved into it, she added this wing on, which is a servant's wing, and then she added a wing on for herself and for her relatives for when they were visiting. And she was the lady that first went into crime scene investigation.
Right. Oh, we saw
Now,
those
one thing you can imagine as we
here
go
in the
this
summer.
way, this is how John Glessner would have come up on his horse of Wagon. So he'd come up, you'd see the carriage barn. What there was actually in the road here, which was on the DVD, was a rotary that Frederick Law Olmsted said he should put in. And they'd go around the rotary, and then actually the road, instead of going that way, went straight up by that stone wall up to the big houses. So the two 17-room mansions were on the very top of that hill. The last group knows that they were both taken down. They were taken down by Frances Lee when her brother and her dad died. She was 54. She finally wanted to go into crime scene investigation, which is what she always wanted to do. So she took the two houses down, sold all the wooden stuff out of them, moved down actually into that cottage, put a mobile home on the lawn behind where the bus is, because she was in a wheelchair, and that way they could take her out each day and she could work. And she ended up as the leading crime scene investigation person. So these gardens were designed by Frederick Law Olmsted's company. Some of the additions of the tea house and the pond, they were put in the 40s, again by Frances. When we started redoing all of the grounds, we actually went to the archives, the Olmsted archives, and figured out that we needed to leave the tea house and the pond there, because if we took them out to take the gardens back to the original, people would actually complain about that. So they said what you really have to do is pick things that are already there and work around them. This was the gardener's cottage in the end, which now I live in. It's a 3-bedroom house. Back then it was just their offices and the heating plant for the greenhouse. So John Glessner had 4 gardeners. One gardener, all his job was each morning was to take fresh cut flowers out to every building on the estate.
Is that a real dog house up there?
Oh no, that was my duck house.
Duck house?
I only raise things that you can eat. So I had ducks, chickens, rabbits I had in England.
In the summertime, like the garden clubs?
Yeah, we've done different tours, and I was talking to the last group. One of the tours that I think is really good was we have a slideshow that was put together by Frances Glessner, and she did it with the hand-painted glass slides from the 30s, and we've got her notes and her description of it, and also the letters from the people at the garden club then. So we do it with 2 people speaking, we show the slides and also the letters. One of the fascinating things is the way they wrote. So to actually see that and then do a tour or do high tea in the garden is something we can do for garden clubs.
Oh, that would be great. For garden clubs, we have to join a garden club.
So the next question was what's the cord that's going around? This is our maple sugaring lines. So the blue lines are pretty narrow and they join each tree, so you can see them up in the woods.
Yep.
And then they come down into this big, it's called a main line, a big black line, much bigger diameter, so all of the sap pours into that main line. It goes down, actually under the road, joins some of the maple trees there, and we have a tank down below where we collect the sap.
Wow. So you do it the easy way.
If you did it with each individual bucket, you'd have to go to each tree to empty the bucket. This way we gather sap a lot quicker, so it cuts the labor
Do you
down.
have a sugar house?
You're going to see it. We're going right down to it.
Oh, that's where we're going.
So the
It's a sweet trip. Yes.
so during the summer, one of the things that we're pushing now, we started last year, was our maple sugaring program, but between June and September, because we do maple sugaring here, and we have about 700 people that visit on a daily basis, or we do in packages where people can stay for 2 days. They get a lot of maple food and stuff at the inns they stay at, and then they come up here and they do a 4-hour program. everything from tapping their own tree all the way through to going to the sugar house, taking a wagon ride, so all kinds of different things. But you can't get many people here then because the weather's hot. So it's either muddy or muddy and cold, or cold and icy, or raining muddy and cold and icy. So just plain cold. It's miserable. So
Isn't that what we say spa season is?
Spa season, that's right. So for our spa season,
The sun's always shining in New Hampshire.
That's what I mean, it's spa season.
so what we do now is starting in June, we can actually we're open to the general public to walk down to this building and take their own tour. Or we get buses come in and they drive right down here, drop people off for the New Hampshire maple experience. In this side, our sugar house is set up now with a big screen TV so that when people go in, they can actually watch the sugaring operation in June in that sugar house. So it's the same place. And we copied it. I saw a thing similar in Disney World. When you go to all their programs, they're very interactive.
Yes.
So people will walk through it. In the bus tour, it'll say you can look at the arch that's in front of you, look at the flat pan on the wall, and it takes them through the whole history, not only of this estate, but also of making maple sugar. After they come out of there, they can go into the next part of the building, which is a museum, which is run by us, but worked in cooperation with the New Hampshire maple producers. This is the Glessner Sugar House.
Oh, and the pig.
And originally, this was a sawmill for block firewood, and on this side was the pig
The
pen.
pig pen.
So we had, as you saw in the video, the pigs were in here, and they had a great view before they were made into bacon. This is some more of the apple trees. So these are some of the ones we've pruned.
Yeah.
And you can see we actually have a clear cut, and everybody always gets worried when you have a clear cut. One of the things we try and teach is that you have to have goals for your property, and there are certain things that you do. For us, because of the building and the tourism effects here, it's better for us to clear cut that 1 acre as part of the tourists being able to see the mountains and leave trees up. So the other 1,300 acres aren't clear cut, but that 1 acre is. And you have to fit your goals to your property to show what you want to do.
And when do you trim and prune your apple trees?
We try and get through those in late February, early March, depending on how cold it is.
Yeah, I heard you have to do that in February or they get diseased.
No, you can actually prune apple trees all the way through the summer. The reasoning for not doing it is, particularly on the commercial orchards, which is like that, is they haven't got time. And the other is when you make a cut and you pull the branch off, you knock the blooms off, or you knock the apples off. But you can actually prune all the way through. They won't get any more disease then than in the winter.
Oh, okay. Learn something new.
So as we go through this, now all of this woods has all been selectively cut. So you know, this bottom side was done about 10 years ago, and this side was done 4 years ago. And we try and show people again, because people are so worried about cutting trees, that you can have an active forest. We had people on the trails going through here right before and right after we were doing the cutting without any problems at all. And a lot of the places, when we look at this part of the property, then at the top of the property, where there's been no active forestry, and we ask people which place was cut, they always think it's the top, because at the top there's all this stuff on the ground and dead trees, and they think that it's loggers doing that. Oh. In actual fact, where the logs have been is pretty clean because they pull it all out.
What was that plastic in orange around that tree?
That was to show the permit for cutting for wood. So wherever you're going to cut, you have to file with the town, and you have to put a permit, a signed permit up.
And what do you do with the wood that you cut?
Sorry, there's two. So with the apples, well, we don't trim the woods at all.
Oh, you don't trim?
No. If we prune apple trees, we'll get them a bit away from the apple trees if they're big branches, but in general, we'll just leave them right now. Sorry, what was your question?
Oh, what do you do when you clear cut, you're taking the lumber out? What do you do with the lumber?
Oh, it's just sold on regular logging operations. So some will be made into boards,
Yeah.
If it's low grade, it'll be chipped and goes to the electricity plant.
Yeah.
Some goes out for pulp. With our outside burner, we can actually burn softwood. So we only burn softwood to heat the lower gift shop and the house I live in.
Okay.
So we do that.
So in other words, when you selectively cut, you're not just taking all the hardwoods or anything like that. You're taking a variety.
Right. It just depends what silviculturally will be best for what you're doing. So the one we did last time was actually in a white pine stand, where the white pine would get into a stage where they'd be overgrown, too big, and they get heart rot. So we went in and selectively cut those and left more white pine to grow. But it just depends. In this one that we did on this side, up a little ways, that's in our maple orchard. So we'd cut in there about 20 years ago to get some of the overstory out. This time we went through and cut anything that wasn't a maple tree.
Now, do you have an arborist on staff, or do you have somebody come in and consult?
We've got 2 foresters on staff, but then a lot of it, because the Forest Society owns 52,000 acres,
Yeah.
so a lot of it's done by consulting foresters. Because we're so far away from the head office,
Yeah.
we have a consulting forester that works with us here,
Yeah.
and it's Forco out of Runyon. And they come up, we'll give them the goals for either the whole property or, usually in our case, because it's so big, for a particular piece of the property, and then we'll discuss it, and they'll mark the timber and stuff for that.
Great.
I mean, this is a bit different as well from a regular woodlot, because we have about 14,000 visitors a year, you know, who are on trails. We do snowshoe tours for educational programs as well. So we kind of groom it a little compared to most parts. On the back side, we've got about another 300 acres, and that's operated more like a woodlot.
Yeah.
Have you ever been snowbound up here?
No. No. My kids growing up, my daughter never missed one day of school, going to Bethlehem school. I had to walk her out to get her down so I could get to the main road, but she never missed a day of school. Yeah, we hear places getting shut down. It's all kind of strange to me.
That's only us
Oddly, yeah.
Manchester people and down in the
Manchester
southern
people,
part.
they just don't-
They pick up Alaska.
Right.
You just remember what it's like in Britain, where they get an inch of snow and the whole place shuts down.
Exactly.
Sorry, ma'am, you had a question.
In the DVD, it said that they made their own electricity.
Yeah.
How'd they do it?
No, they had one lunger, an old gas engine that was in the electric plant. So where the lower gift shop is, that electric plant, that's where they generated electricity. Yeah. Actually, would it be gas or diesel? Bruce, you probably know that better. It would have been gas still, yeah.
No kidding.
Right, that's a good question. One of the questions is, you know, we sell other people's maple syrup from here as well as our own. One of the things is when we're collaborating to do the museum and working with the New Hampshire maple producers, we said we would carry other people's syrup as well. Because then if we're advertising something when they own the pieces that were in the museum, even as a non-profit, we're trying to get people here, but it would be unfair for us not to try and sell other people's products. So we try and carry other people's products who, you know, who can sell it at a good price.
Do you just sell yours out each season?
Most of the time. We've got some left. It's the one with the red caps up there that's ours. And what we do is we have a sugarer who makes it for us. So we start in here as the display one, and then we have about 1,100 taps, which is bigger than we can use on this arch. So he takes all of our sap and he makes it on his arch, but it's our syrup. And again, it's the whole thing with the labor. You've got to figure out for real whether you're making money. And if we actually boiled all of the sap ourselves, it wouldn't be worth it. It's just not worth it. We're better off having the 700 people that come and visit, and we charge them to come and learn. We make more money from that than we would the syrup. Tourists are our biggest agricultural crop rate.